Did you ever stand in front of the refrigerator and your folks tell you, close the door? You're burning up power, or you left the bedroom light on and you're not there anymore. Go back and turn your lights out. You're running up the power bill. Shut that off. You're not using it anymore. In my household, those were common words.
Every day.
From our parents every day. You're costing us money. Turn off the lights. Turn off the radio. You're not in the room anymore. Well, the assumption now is that we've got plenty of energy, and after all, I'm using low wattage efficient light bulbs, so I can leave them on all the time. In fact, we had that discussion with my wife about our outdoor lights that I leave on for security purposes at night. They are low energy consumption bulbs, and we're thinking we're okay. We've got lots of power. I turn it on, and the lights always work, unless the storm went by, but that's not that often, even in the Northwest.
Right.
But power today is absolutely in short supply. It just hasn't hit us personally yet, except in the electric bill. If you haven't noticed, they're rising and expect them to rise even more. My name is Don Creech.
And I'm Perry Sykes, and welcome to the Investor Resources Podcast.
Reason your power bill is going up is not maybe because you're leaving your lights on and you don't need to, but I doubt that's a major cause. The real issue is the same kind of problem that we've had with regard to highway construction. The government doesn't want to spend money on a project that's going to take years and years before people see benefits. They want to spend money on something that they can cause you to vote for them this next cycle. Highways aren't that issue. But at some point in time, as they are here in Washington, we waited 30 years too long to spend money to build out the freeway system to accommodate the growth of the population. When you bring in growth, you get more people. That means more 2 and 3 and or 4. No, well, yeah, they got 3-wheel vehicles now, and trucks, trains. Well, the trains are on the highways. Buses are. And they need more space. It's kind of like a water line. When you need more volume, you build a bigger pipe. Governments don't understand that. And we're now facing the same kind of problem with electric transmission because of artificial intelligence and the data centers that are associated with it.
How hard to believe is that? It's 2025, and one of our primary problems that's going to be a real bottleneck for artificial intelligence growing at the rapid pace that it has been is going to be electricity. We're going to run out of power. They say that right now we need to be adding about 80 gigawatts a year in capacity just to keep up with what we're doing now. Not just AI, but crypto and regular industry and the electrification trends of everything else. So we need 80 gigawatts added per year, and we're adding less than 65 gigawatts a year. And to put that in perspective, they said that's enough to power 2 Manhattans during the hottest time of the year. So air conditioning all those New Yorkers that's twice over is the shortfall we have right now. So there's a huge gap that's getting bigger between the amount of electricity we need and the amount of electricity we can produce. And like I said, Don, it's only a matter of time before that really begins to show up, because that is a finite amount of power, and we are not keeping up with how much additional power we need.
So what happens is a data center needs to be built, or the AI company, the tech company, wants to build a data center in order to stay competitive. If they don't build out their own data centers, they will lose their competitive edge in the marketplace, or at least their competitive positioning, which they want to maintain.
Sure.
So they look for a location where they can build that's close to a source of power. The utility companies that already have nuclear plants, the odds are they may not have available dirt nearby for a data center construction. Right. And I've seen some pictures of these from the air. It looks in some cases like they take up almost the size of a small commercial airport.
Right.
I mean, they're massive. You look at the building, you think of a data center, well, it's just a building. No, it's multiple buildings over hundreds of acres. They're huge, and they need huge amounts of power. So how do you get cheap power? You get cheap power with natural gas. Do you have natural gas nearby? Do you have pipelines available? somebody has to build them, and the data center wants to go in. The AI company contracts with to get power in the future, and so the utility wants to build out. Well, they can't bill for the build out until they're delivering service. So guess who's going to pay for it during the build out time? Because they still need money, and that's you. That's right. It's the household and existing businesses are going to end up paying along the way. Going to see much higher power bills coming your way fairly soon. At some point in time, the data center goes online, they'll start consuming power. I'm not quite sure the utility is going to refund the money that they took from you in the 2 or 3 years ahead.
I got it, and it's a startling amount of power. But just going through this data, I was really surprised. A single data center needs the same amount of electricity as 1,000 Walmart stores. 1,000 Walmart stores. That's a data center, and there's a new data center opening somewhere on our planet once a day right now. So that's like 1,000 Walmart stores a day worth of electricity. Well, that's a lot of power, and we don't. Not only do we not have the ability to produce it, we don't have the ability to deliver it. Our electrical grid is old, it's outdated, and that's why these data center companies are moving to find their own power. It used to be you go build a data center and then you just plug it in. We've got electricity, right? This is America, and then it was like we don't have that much, and we don't have it where you need it. And so they're starting to say, well, we have to have room to build a data center and some ability to produce some power besides covering the roof with solar panels, which they all do now because they need every break they can get. And finding enough electricity now has become the defining metric for do we get a data center or not? And that's not good. It's not good for the growth that's necessary in AI, and it's not good going forward because that means it's going to become increasingly expensive because we keep falling further behind. And like you said, Don, politicians don't really want to take care of that until it's a crisis, and we're getting close.
Well, that's really big. We're right on the cusp of that crisis, of the breakdown showing up. And that's a competitive disadvantage globally for us if we can't continue to deliver this. There are two ways to get that power reliably and quickly and relatively inexpensively, and that's natural gas and nuclear. And you mentioned the transmission lines. Our transmission line system is antiquated and not up to the delivery of the power that we need. And that creates another problem because that reactivates the NIMBY community. Not in my backyard. You're going to build the power line that's that tall over my backyard? Not in my backyard, you're not. So we're going to end up with litigation to stop construction of many of these needed transmission lines.
You bet.
It has changed the outlook for the nuclear industry, which since the 3 Mile Island problem decades ago has basically been on, no pun intended, everybody's back burner.
Right, there we go.
But there was recently there was a convention in Austin, Texas for the Nuclear Power Association. They had attendance that they have never seen before. And it's basically because of these small nuclear generation plants they're the same kind of plants that we've been using on aircraft carriers and I'm sure other naval ships for decades without any problems. We know how to build them. They're small, they're efficient, they're cost effective. I mean, basically they're cheap and they can be put up in production in maybe 2 to 3 years, as opposed to the old style with the big cooling towers that would take 15 or 20 years to run.
Yep.
Yeah, by the time you get through permitting, site work, construction, and more importantly, the litigation, which probably doubles the time from start to finish.
Probably.
Yep. You don't have those problems with these small compact nuclear generators. So these are coming to your neighborhood, but at least the neighborhood where the data centers are being built. It is a new world. It is different this time. And it is part of what is going to continue expanding the productivity of not just tech, but every business in our country. is going to be more profitable if they learn how to adapt artificial intelligence to improve their productivity. Now, it's going to change employment. People who were doing mundane tasks that a robot can do
Right.
are going to have to learn how to do a new job. But jobs are going to be there. There are going to be more jobs now. It's just like Henry Ford. The union didn't like his automation when he put it in, but he actually ended up with more employees after he installed automation than he had before he installed automation. And we found that to be true with other innovations that we've had since then.
And this is going to be just important and just as big a change. It's just that it cannot happen without the electricity. And they said that prior to 2020, data centers consumed about 2% of the electricity in the United States. By 2028, it's going to be 12%. So it's a huge increase in how much electricity they're going to need. And if they don't get it, we don't get the productivity. If they don't get it, we don't get the advancement in the economy that we should have, that we would be able to produce, because AI is not going to be where it should be. And that's why we're going to see a huge amount of money spent on infrastructure to get this done, because it really is going to be a bottleneck the economy can't afford. We can't afford to just say, well, we'll get to that AI stuff in next decade, not this decade. Nope, the rest of the world's moving, and we've got to move with them.
Well, that's a major change as far as your asset allocation in your portfolio is concerned. One of the things that comes to mind right hand, we're talking about utility power. Utilities as a sector are generally confined to slowing economies and a defensive asset when you're in a bear market. Not right. That it doesn't go down, but it goes down less than the market as a whole. What's actually happening is some utility companies, because they are positioned power ready for nuclear permits or close to data center potential building sites, they're actually being treated as growth companies right now. Now, in the exchange traded fund and mutual fund business, you don't get to isolate, at least I haven't found any that isolate on those kinds of growth utility companies. You get broadly diversified. So it's an area that you have to be much more specific about. And that's part of sector rotation. In a sector rotation stock portfolio that we run for clients, we can actually focus on specific utility companies that are meeting this demand, and other investors have figured it out.
You bet.
Otherwise, what you look at is, in a broadly diversified portfolio, is you don't have enough technology exposure. And that technology exposure, while in many cases is classified as technology, is also in other areas such as industrial, which are adapting the processes that AI makes available to them to improve their bottom line. That's happening in other industries. If your advisor isn't paying attention to these kinds of changes in industry sector focus, you should call us. Let's just have a conversation. We can do a review for you, and it's no charge. We can do it online, do it through the email, but you should pay attention to this, because this is a major change that will affect whether or not you are a participant close to the market returns over the next 20 years, or you're basically become a laggard until it's too late and you've missed most of the bull market that's in place right now. If you like what you've heard today, share the link here with your friends, family, and coworkers. Subscribe. There's a button on the screen that you can subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss our next conversation. And keep you up to date on the issues that we believe to be important in the financial arena and very likely to affect your portfolio. You can also just give us a call and chat with us. Thanks for being with us. Stay tuned. We have more coming in the days ahead.